Good.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the council meeting of the 25th of May 2020. Sorry for the delay. We've been having a few technical problems. This meeting is being conducted with COVID-19 protocols in place for social distancing and isolation. The meeting is being conducted electronically using Zoom and is being live streamed on Facebook Live. Town Hall is closed to the public and the most up-to-date meeting package is on the Town of Kentville website. The public may send questions directly to the CAO's email at krice@kentville.ca. This meeting is called to order. Have all of the councillors received and reviewed their meeting packages? Does any member of council have information pertaining to a matter before this council which has not been publicly circulated? I will remind members of council that we are in decision-making mode and we should be mindful of our decision-making wheel. We have committed to making balanced, respectful decisions and adhering to our code of conduct. We will be voting by poll. The chair will call your name and ask how say you. This method permits us to verbally record your vote. Are there any conflict of interest issues we should be aware of before the meeting commences? CAO Rice, could you please take the roll call?
Thank you, Your Worship. All councillors are accounted for and Director Gentlemen for staff, Jennifer West and Jason Bethune.
Thank you. You have before you the proposed agenda. Are there any additions or deletions? If I could have a motion to accept the agenda. Councillor Andrew, thank you. Second. Oh, did you have something, Councillor Andrew?
I did actually. I just, I would assume that I would declare a conflict with regard to any recommendation coming forward from the presentation from Valley Community Learning.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know any more than anyone else does, but obviously if I've declared in the past and this potentially could impact the property I have an association with, I should step aside for that.
All right. Thank you, Jason. You will ensure that Councillor Andrew is, we're not in camera, so he can still be part of the room, but you need to blank his screen because he's supposed to step down from the corrals, more or less.
I can switch chairs in my room too here if you.
Okay.
He can just stop his video if he likes.
Okay, so you can stop your video, Councillor Andrew, at that time. And Jennifer, could you please ensure that it is recorded that Councillor Andrew has declared a conflict of interest? I wasn't looking at the hands up on the panelists. Sorry about that. Okay, so we're moving to the agenda. Councillor Andrew has moved the agenda. If I could have a seconder, please.
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Pulsifer. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. You have before you the minutes of the May 11th, 2020 council meeting. Are there any errors or omissions in the minutes? If no, the minutes are approved as distributed. If yes, the recording secretary will annotate the minutes in red and the annotated minutes will be added to the electronic meeting file as approved. No issues. Moving on. All right, we do have a presentation. Peter Gillis is here with us from Valley Community Learning Association. Welcome, Peter, and thank you for being here. The screen is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Everybody hear me okay?
Perfect.
Yes.
So I'm going to share my screen. So everybody looking at a church?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. So VCLA, our organization, is interested in acquiring the property at 118 Oakteen and moving its operations there from our current location in downtown Kentville. As noted in our letter to council, we'd like to gauge the support for this idea, whether or not the town would entertain the necessary changes to the land use bylaw and municipal planning strategy to facilitate our move. For the purpose of my PowerPoint today is just to give a clearer picture of what we do currently and what our anticipated things might be as well, so that you can make a decision. So number of slides here, but I'll go through them fairly quickly. We have two main locations. We're in both Kings County and Annapolis County. So in Annapolis, we're located at the NSCC campus there. And in Kings, we're in downtown Kentville at 49 Cornwallis. And just to be clear, our purpose would be to move this operation up to the church, not our whole operation. But what do we do currently in Kentville? We have about 70 volunteer tutors who help us each year to work with adult learners. And we have 17 staff who teach class-based adult education classes. Many people who come to us are those who got their grade 12 or GED. So they didn't get a chance the first time around, and they've come back because they want to move forward in their career or at work. And we have some success at helping people reach their goals. We have several walls of fame at our location in Kentville where people allow us to take a copy of their diploma and put it up on the wall to show others. We also do English as an additional language. We had 65 learners in that program in the past year, which is our largest year. Most of those are in the Eastern Kings area, so almost all of them attend classes in Kentville. And like our adult education program on the literacy essential skills side, the EAL learners also work in one-on-one situations with volunteers and in class-based. And most recently, also online, as in the last couple of months, we've had to transition to online learning environments. Family literacy is still a big part of what we do. It's often when a parent has a child or their child starts school that they think about their own education so that they can help with their children's homework or set a good example. We partner with public health. So as you may know, when families have a child at the hospital, they're screened for a number of at-risk factors to determine if the environment might be challenging for that child to grow up in. And if they tick enough boxes, they're assigned a public health worker who comes into the home, and we trail those public health workers and offer to make a book with families about their newborn. And it's often through that experience that they take on other things with us and continue their upgrading. We also make books with seniors as well. In the past year, we've been doing it for a number of years. In the past year, we were at the Veterans Unit in Middleton, at Soldiers Memorial, and also at a local long-term care facility making books. Not everyone who comes to us knows precisely what they want to do. Many people are still trying to figure that out. So we have some programs that are more life skills and orientation, where people learn about being a good employee and how to talk to your boss, dress for work, and solve conflicts and that kind of thing. And a big part of that program is setting goals for themselves and learning how to be accountable to meet those goals. And we have a chalkboard up at our center in Kentville where people can write out their goals in a public way to maybe help them meet those goals. It's an idea that's based on an art project that began in New Orleans. Candy Chang was the artist who took over a derelict building in a tough part of town and converted it into a Before I Die wall where people could write out their dreams and aspirations in a public way. It kind of took off, and there's walls in 78 countries. There's, I think, over 4,000 different walls. You have to apply to have your wall accepted, and we have our wall as one of those walls in Kentville. Many people who do come to us know what they want to do, and trucking is one industry where you can get in without a grade 12, so many of our learners find that an attractive option. So we don't actually put people in trucks and teach that, but we do help people prepare for the written tests, the air brake endorsement, and the professional drivers. So it's the literacy side of that support. We also do a training for fourth level of care work, so the level below a CCA, where people are maybe working with the elderly or people with disabilities. So it's a 8-week training that helps people to do home care and work in residential settings for people with disabilities. And beginner's license is another course of people come to us mostly to work on their literacy skills related to getting their license. Oh. Digital tech, we have an IT support here at the center, and on Friday mornings, there's a open to the community drop-in where people can bring their particular device and get some support on learning how to do it better. Some people come one Friday, some people come 20 Fridays, depending on how much work they need. Not all of our programs are geared towards getting a credentials. We have a partnership with Open Arms. It's many of them already have a grade 12, many of the participants. So it's about creative writing, that particular project. We've been doing that for a number of years, and people work in various media and have had books published. In some cases, they've been able to sell their books and generate a little income for themselves. We also have a partnership with Nova Scotia Health Authority. We work to put some of their written materials into plain language. So that could be a brochure about diabetes or another chronic illness, or it could be a newsletter for a healthcare clinic. So they send materials to us, and we have a small group in one of our literacy programs that look at it and try to understand it together collectively and seek finding other language that might make it more accessible to the broader public. We offer a variety of crafts, Indigenous crafts. We have 3 Mi'kmaq and Inuit elders who work with us to teach things like mitts, Inuit mitts, and moccasins, and drums. And we've done some Mi'kmaq language in the last few years as well. So we, through a partnership with the Native Council of Nova Scotia, we've got a teacher who comes down and helps offer classes here. People can get credit that they can apply to the Mi'kmaq Studies program at NSCC. So we have a number of partners that help us extend our reach. As I've mentioned, public health, also community services, Nova Scotia Works, community college, adult high school. I think we partner fairly well to extend the reach of what we're able to do with our limited funds. And in some cases, we're able to get a little bit of support from partners. It's the Rotary Club up there in the top right. Chuck Hennessy, who was with Scotiabank at the time, was a great supporter while at that bank. And Rod Franklin, Shauna Sequeira, good local people. We have our annual fundraiser. Bulk of our programming dollars come from government, but we do have a fundraiser each year where we raise about $15,000. Some years a little bit better than that. It's also a promotional effort to let people know about what we're doing. We have silent auctions, barbecues, music. We gather sponsors to walk around town. It's kind of a family fun event. And we give some awards for learners. So what else would we like to do? Well, we see 118 Oakteen is offering us the opportunity to branch into some things we'd be interested in exploring. We see the grounds as offering a community garden potential, and also a place where we can perhaps offer some upgrading around helping people to be farm laborers. We see perhaps the produce from our community garden is offering opportunities for offering classes and putting down preserves and canning and cooking classes generally. Not a very clean kitchen at the moment there. We see opportunities potentially for a daycare. It'd certainly be beneficial for some of our learners to have that option on site. We see it as broader than that as well, and offering seats for community members at large. The sanctuary is really a beautiful spot. I don't know if everyone's been up there, but it's got great acoustics, and we could see it as being a place where we could do some of the celebrations that we do for our learners when they make success, and also potentially partnering with people who might want to bring music in, thinking of Deep Roots. And generally, we see the opportunities for community education more broadly, whether it's offering music classes, languages, crafts, pottery, painting, cooking. It's just a way of getting out there and broadening our adult education opportunities for the entire community. And I guess that's our dream, is to be out there supporting education in all its facets for our community members. So that is my series of slides.
Excellent. Thank you, Peter.
You're welcome.
If you bring your,
Want me to stop share?
stop sharing, yeah, that way we can get everybody's space back. Does anyone have any questions they want to ask Councillor Savage?
Thank you, Worship. Hi, Peter. Nice to see your face. Just a question. You had mentioned about that you have a conglomerate of community partners, public health and DCS. Is that where your funding comes from as well, or are you self-funded as well, or how does your funding work?
Yeah, it's about 95% government funded. Public health, not really. The partnership is more just we do our work together there.
Okay.
Community services does fund projects on a project basis. So we might, that program I mentioned about the 4th level of care for elders and people with disabilities is funded through one of their funding streams. So it's kind of a, when there's participants, they will fund kind of situation. Labor and Advanced Education and Nova Scotia Office of Immigration would be our main funders. More recently, Employment Social Development Canada, ESDC, Central Skills, yep, they've been a big supporter as well.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Councillor Maxwell.
Hi, Peter. Thank you. That's a good presentation. I'm just wondering, Peter, where it's primarily a residential area up there, would most of the activities take place during the workday, like during the daytime, or would there be nighttime traffic and so on going up there?
Yeah, I mean, it would be largely daytime. I mean, we do have occasional classes at night for working people, but you know, in the last year, that not so much. Probably once a week if we're fortunate, but generally speaking, it's a daytime activity.
Yeah, good. Okay, just wondering about, like, you know, noise level or whatever at night. So thank you. That's good.
I mean, our classes at night are, you know, it's math. I don't know how noisy
Yeah.
it gets, but
You can't be too noisy with that. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Are there any immediate questions for Peter? We will have him back when we go into new business to look at his actual request. So if there are no further questions of Peter, thank you very much, Peter. It was a great presentation and you only took 11 minutes, so that was really great. So we'll move on to
Peter, you're now the mayor.
Congratulations, Peter.
Congratulations, Peter.
Yeah, there's going to be some changes around here. Did the mayor, were you asking me to stick around, Sandra, for the new business? Is that?
you if you want to, can you hear me?
Okay, I thought you were going to, did you say you wanted to bring me back at that time?
We can, if you think that you can add anything to the discussion. Otherwise, I think that people have asked you the questions that they wanted, and I think that your letter is pretty self-explanatory. So completely up to you.
Well, if you don't mind, it's my birthday today, so I'm actually going to go home if that's okay. And,
All right. Well, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Peter.
Hi, Peter.
Happy
We should
birthday.
probably sing to you, but that would probably break the internet. So we already have enough internet problems without that happening.
please don't do that. Okay.
All right. Happy birthday.
All right. Thanks very much. And
Okay.
email me if you have questions.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right. Our next item is a rezoning application from Stone Ridge, request for rezoning. And Bev, I'll let you start
yep.
that. I don't know which direction we're
Okay.
going.
Okay.
You got the screen.
Do you have the audio?
Yep.
You can hear me. Okay. So good evening, council and mayor. As you indicated, this is a rezoning application. If you would like or prefer, I'll just highlight just the general information That's being requested rather than reading the whole report. You have had the report for a week, so once I go through the highlights, if there's any additional questions, you can ask me. I thought that the applicant was going to be here, but I don't see her at this time. But she
She
might.
is, Beth. She
Pardon?
can hear, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. She can hear and see things. I'll
Oh.
promote her to a panelist when you want to talk to her.
No, okay, very good. So this is a rezoning application for Stone Ridge to rezone a portion of their land from an R2 two-dwelling unit to an R3 medium density zone. The property, and I'm just going to keep the graphics up here for now. And the property is located just north west of Prospect Avenue and north east of the Donald Hills Connector Road, which is here. You can see my mouse moving. To the north is Masters Park parkland. This is a piece of parkland we acquired from an old subdivision referred to as Masters subdivision back in the 50s. And to the north, further north, I guess, further west is vacant residential designated property. The applicant is seeking the rezoning to allow for a mixed residential development with a mixture of low and medium density buildings. Low density would include two unit dwellings, and the medium density could include townhomes and small scale apartments with a maximum of 6 dwelling units within it. The development will allow for increased flexibility to provide a variety of housing choices in the town of Kentville and near the downtown of Kentville, adding lots of activity and presence to the business community. One of the municipal planning strategies goals is to promote and accommodate an array of dwelling types which reflect the diversified needs, income levels, ages, and lifestyles of Kentville residents. So this is one residential market that we don't really have right now. We're seeing a lot of high density residential in town. We've seen, and primarily the main product that Kentville has had over the years, a single family. We've had a little bit of R2 come into play. So this townhouse kind of mixed use development would certainly add to the housing choices and price range for a number of different tenures within the town of Kentville. The property is zoned R2, which allows for 1 and 2 unit dwellings with the rezoning request to go to R3. Again, to consider a mixture of townhouses, small apartments, triplexes, and then any combination of those numerous types. The initial access is proposed to come off of Prospect Avenue. No access is planned from the Spring Garden Road street. There's a little bit of history on this property, but the property was rezoned to R2 a number of years ago. The current property owner was hoping to put in some single and side-by-side semi-detached housing. And I don't know where the owner of the property is with that right now, but I think that they see that the need for a more diverse opportunity is really the way to go with this. So access will be cut off of Prospect, and future access when it starts to build out will be coming from the future roadway, which is the Donald Hills Road. So we want to limit any type of access onto Spring Garden Road, which is a local road, and keep it on Prospect Avenue, which is a minor collector road, collecting traffic from communities to move in towards different neighborhoods and different communities. This development, if the rezoning is approved, will require detailed site planning approval. And that will outline specific details regulating and ensuring compatibility with the surrounding community during the site plan application process. And this would all happen before any issuance of development permits. Site plan under the MGA and within our planning strategy outlines different aspects of development that need to be taken into consideration, including location of structures, screening from adjacent land uses, landscaping, and bulk of structures. Then we had a meeting with the engineering department, Dave Bell, to talk about the various aspects of servicing the lot and stormwater management. And he sees no issues with servicing it or stormwater, but those items will all have to be dealt with at the time of permitting when different project or different portions of the development are considered. This obviously will be a long-term project over several years. And so as we move forward with development, then those issues dealing with stormwater, sewer, and water egress will be dealt with at that time. Council and their MPS have, recognized the need for affordable housing and have stated that as one of their goals by encouraging some affordable housing and mixed-use housing under policy RS 22, which states it's the intention of council to promote the provision of affordable housing units in accordance with the land use bylaw within residential areas of the town by encouraging a mix of housing types and densities. And this certainly does provide that mixture. The yellow, it would be low density, side by sides, potentially even single family homes, but at a minimum, side by side, semi-detached housing. The orange would be your medium density, could be your triplexes or townhouses, a mixture thereof, or even maximum 6-unit apartment buildings. And then just the mixture is being proposed in a section of the property as well, that you could have a mix of these various housing types. There are a number of criteria for rezonings that we look at. They're in the report with the questions and the answers. If you want, I can go through them all, and many of them will have to be dealt with at the time of permitting anyways. But we could, if you have any questions about any of those specifically, we can talk about those this evening as well. As mentioned, the Director of Public Works, Dave Bell, reviewed the application with respect to municipal servicing, stormwater runoff, traffic impacts, and full details of stormwater municipal servicing traffic impacts will all be required at the permitting stage. So once we actually know the full density and number of units there, we'll have a better idea in terms of how we're going to service it, the capacity for sewer and water, traffic impacts on Prospect, and whether or not there'll be any additional items such as maybe a turning lane that might need to be provided for at some point in the future to help with traffic flow into the development. So in summary, the proposal to rezone the subject property from R2 to R3 is consistent with policies of the municipal planning strategy as outlined above. Specifically, the proposal will provide additional housing choice and affordable options, supports active transportation opportunities, does not require the town to assume the cost and responsibility of additional road, sewer, or water infrastructure. One thing I forgot to mention was it's going to be serviced by a private driveway, similar to the development that's up on the old highway property, the Kentfield Estates. So we will not be required to take over roads and maintain roads in the future. It will be on a single lot, all accessed off of a well-built driveway, more or less. But it will not require us to maintain that infrastructure in the future. And if they do wish to put a public street in there, the cost of building the public street and putting all the infrastructure in there in accordance with our municipal infrastructure, as municipal standards and infrastructure, they would have to meet all those requirements to incur those costs themselves. And lastly, the development will ensure compatibility by placing the triplexes, townhouses, and small apartment buildings up to 6 units to the west and the north, away from the existing single-family homes. Now, this down on along Prospect, it's a mix of single-family and side-by-side semi-detached homes. To the east, we have the park lands that will buffer it from some of the other single-family, the Spring Garden Road single-family and Academy Avenue neighborhood. So the recommendation would be that the application to rezone Stone Ridge Properties Limited lands it has been reviewed for compliance with the municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw. And I would recommend the council hold first reading this evening on the request to rezone PIN number 55290241 from 1 and 2 unit dwelling R2 to medium density residential R3 zone, and to further have a public hearing. So on that, I am suggesting either June 17th or 18th, depending on the availability of council. So although in order to approve, have second reading, approve second reading, you have to be at the public hearing, and we need to have a quorum. So we really need to have everybody there. So if we want to talk about a particular date, that would be good for folks. At that time, there'll be more discussion with the applicant and more questions that can be discussed with the applicant and anybody else out in the community that may have some questions about it.
Your worship, I will move Director Gentleman's recommendation.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Bev, can you give me back the screen, please?
Oh, how do I do that?
Go back
I
to
have to
the button.
stop sharing.
Yep, that's the one.
Perfect. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just want everybody back so I can see them. All right, it has been moved and seconded that council approve the first reading of the Stone Ridge request for rezoning of PID 55290241 from 1 and 2 unit dwellings R2 to medium density residential R3 zone, and further that council hold a public hearing on either June 17th or 18th. Discussion. Councilor or Deputy Mayor, I see your hand up.
Thank you, Worship. Question for Bev, and it might actually be a question for David Bell. My concern is the stormwater. I think you had mentioned that the stormwater is going to be addressed sort of as the subdivision progresses, but it's been my experience, and I am not an engineer or anything like that by any means, but as soon as you start to manipulate the vegetation and such, that affects everything downstream. So when we say it's going to be addressed as we progress, how does that play out?
Well, obviously it's an engineering question, but in speaking with Dave Bell, there will be requirements to have essentially stormwater ponds on site to be able to maintain the water and slowly drain it. Rather, it'll be a stormwater management plan to make sure the stormwater stays on site and slowly, released to its natural course.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Counselor Savage.
Thank you, Worship. Bev, just a bit of an education piece for me. When you talk about the site plan approval and compatibility of the development with adjacent properties, and then you talk about proposed development revolves around any potential compatibility issues, site plan approval. Is the site plan approval similar to a development agreement? Are they kind of one and the same a little bit?
Yeah, a DA certainly has more teeth to it.
Okay.
And you can deal with a lot more issues than you can with a site plan.
Okay.
Site plan is essentially a mini DA, but it's negotiated between the applicant and staff.
Okay.
In conjunction with comments that we get from adjacent property owners. So adjacent property owners, once we get a schematic of what's going in, some plans of a particular building or a building or two or a portion of the development,
Okay.
notification will be sent out to the adjacent property owners and they'll have an opportunity to speak on that.
Mhm.
If they don't like what they see and the town approves it per their land use bylaw, they do have an opportunity to come before you, council, to appeal it.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for clearing that. Thank you.
All right, Deputy Mayor, I see your hand, but I have a few other questions here prior, just for first timers. Bev, I realize that you said that that's going to be a private road, but when I'm looking at it, one of the things that we talked about just last week when we were doing our capital budget was the condition of Prospect Avenue. So this seems like pretty dense, I guess, and so the amount of traffic coming out onto Prospect. If there needs to be a traffic study, will it be the developer who does that? And
Yes.
if we need a turning lane, will that be the developer as well?
It will be, yes.
Okay. Now, with the amount of density that's there, would that change the designation of Prospect to like a bigger size road? Would it become a Belcher Street, so to speak?
No, it's still a minor collector.
Okay.
I think eventually, though, if the belt, I'm just turning and looking at my map. If Prospect was extended, it's an old J class highway that went all the ways to Highway 12. If that ever opened up again, I think certainly the designation or portion of it, especially up on the south side of it, could change.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bolland.
Oh, thank you, Mayor Snow. You raised the same questions I have. We're a welcoming community, and we're looking to increase our population, but I sort of look forward to a public meeting. The more engagement we get on this, the better. And again, your concerns, Mayor, are mine as well. As if we build it, will they come? Well, they will, but then what's the pressure going to be on that road and at the bottom of the road, et cetera? So on the traffic concerns. So we'll see what comes up with that. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. So on the town side of things, Bev, what is the town's future for sidewalks up there? Because this is quite a large piece of property and can conceivably be very high density with the amount that we allow per acre. Do we have the room, the capacity, the space to put sidewalks and stuff up there?
I would have to check, but with Dave, but I believe the right of way for Prospect is certainly wide enough for at least one sidewalk on one side. But obviously, the term, grow out of this project could certainly provide enough tax base potentially to help support putting sidewalks in.
And next, and I just thought of it, this property sort of is below grade to Belcher Street, correct? Like it's Belcher Street is above where the bulk of this land is. So how would we do sewer? Would there have to be a pumping station to get it up to Prospect?
I believe that there will be, yeah, but that's all at the cost of the developer.
That's all, okay. All right, that was my question. Thank you.
All right, are there any further questions? Are you ready for the question?
May I ask, we haven't picked the date yet, unless you
Okay.
want to yeah, we should add that into the, to the.
So how does everyone's calendar look? June 17th, I have an AGM at 1:30. It's the Kings County Senior Safety. So anyone who's interested in attending that, that is at 1:30 to 2:30. But if we did something at 4 on the 17th would work. 18 is good at any time for me. Does anyone
I'm
else?
just trying to get it in so that we can get second reading to council at the end of June.
Understood.
Yeah.
How are we looking for the 18th?
Good.
Looks good.
Yeah, any of the dates.
I could do either or. I would prefer it later in the day if possible. Thank you.
How does that work for you, Bev?
Either works for me.
If we did the 17th at 5 p.m., 6 p.m.?
At 4:30 is even 5, Your Worship.
Okay, 4:30 on the 17th.
Okay, 4:30 on the 17th?
You'll send out invites to members of council? Thank you. All right, are you ready for the question? The question is on adoption of the motion to approve first reading of the Stone Ridge request for rezoning of PID 55290241 from 1 and 2 unit dwellings R2 to medium density residential R3 zone, and further that council hold a public hearing on June 17th. Deputy Mayor, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Andrew, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Savage, how say you?
Yes, thank you.
Councillor Pulsifer, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Bolland, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell, how say you?
Yes.
I say yes, the motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. We'll move on to council reports, and starting with Councillor Andrew.
If you may, I have had significant technological issues. So I've been blocked out of everything until, and just shortly before this meeting, Jason was able to direct me how to get back online. But I had, my computer did some sort of automatic reboot, so all of my passwords and everything disappeared. So I've been in that state for a number of days. So my apologies. But all of that said, I can do a written report, but there's not a lot to report because there have been no meetings. I do have a meeting with King's Transit coming this week, but I will, for our records, make sure that I submit a report.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, Councillor Bolland.
You're on mute.
Sorry. Last council meeting attended was April 27th, and last CAC was May 11th. Attended Kentville Water Commission on May 6th, and we had an overview of some current and future projects and approval of the operating capital budgets. Valley Waste, we met last week on May 20th. Be a little bit more about that shortly. May 19th and 20th, capital budget meeting. And as you know, on the 20th, the operating budget meeting, I was not in attendance because I had to attend the Valley Waste meeting. So I actually did not send regrets. I had to go to Valley Waste. Miscellaneous events on April 25th. I joined Director Ginger McPhee at the new Chrysalis site and just did a photo for the sod turning. And Valley Waste last week, the general manager's report. Public drop-offs started last Monday from 4:30 to 6:30 during the week. The first day on the 19th, they had, for example, almost 250 commercial and public trucks lined up there at 4:30 in the afternoon. So popular place. These hours may be extended after June 1st, so they're just waiting to see on that. No spring cleanup right now currently, as EFR cannot get drivers, as many are home with their children or taking advantage of the SERB program. Valley Waste Resource Management has a 15-week student internship position provided by the Clean Foundation and Divert Nova Scotia. This student will be doing research on the volume of waste from single-family, multifamily, and seasonal homes, and looking at efficiencies and areas of improvement. So that's something that you'll hear about well after the summer. A revised management bylaw is returning to the board and the CAOs in the coming weeks, as it's been reviewed and modified with the input of the County of Kings. So Director Rice, you'll be looking for that probably within a week or two. Some trivia for you, but nonetheless, serious stuff. Number of residential and or site visits for Valley Waste and bylaw infractions to date, 4,235 site visits. They've issued 74 warnings for bylaw enforcement, and over 140 illegal dump sites have been reported on. So, and that is my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Savage, did you have a question of Councillor Ballin?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Worship. Councillor Ballin, is there anything happening at Valley Waste right now? I know there were some discussions back about a year or so ago where they were talking about having some consultants going in, looking at improving some of the efficiency there, operations, things like that. Just wondering if anything's happening around that.
Nothing currently, but that's part of the mission of the student that's been funded by Divert. They're looking at those sort of things, so the efficiencies of drop-offs and what's working, what's not working. And so that's part of their mission. So.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor. You're on mute.
Thank you, Your Worship. My apologies for not submitting. I thought because I have not attended anything outside of the budget meetings for the last month. So I can read this now or wait till it comes up later in the agenda.
I will call on you when it comes up on the agenda. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Councillor Maxwell.
Thank you. I've attended all the council meetings and the budget meetings and all those things. I have one committee report that I can give. Most of all my committees are outside the town committees, and they're not sitting due to COVID-19. But we did get a email update from the chair of the Annapolis Valley Trails Association. So I'll just go through that. The trail coordinator has been in touch with all the partners to discuss plans for the coming year, and work plans have been developed. The Rails to Trails expansion grant has come in and will help fund those projects that are ongoing this summer. The website is coming along and the launch should be expected in June. And the bookkeeper for the coalition has been keeping the organization on track and is working on the year-end financials. Draft budget is being prepared. Final report was submitted to the town of Kentville, looking at a late June meeting if possible. So we should be getting together in late June if we're allowed.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Savage.
Thank you, Worship. So last council, of course, was the 27th of April, and my last CAC was May the 11th. On May the 14th, the Investment Advisory Committee met. We reviewed the reports and recommendations from our wealth advisor, and at the end of April, the overall portfolio was only down 3.47%, which is very good considering the turbulent times in the market. We are moving ahead with some proposed changes to the IPS. And when I say moving ahead, I mean all of the recommendations that are made would have to be signed off, of course, by municipal affairs. We have about $500,000 coming due towards the end of May that were in bonds. So we obviously need to be diligent with regards to the level of risk we can take versus the return. This is kind of going back to some of the proposed changes with the IPS. The mix, the spirit of the change is going to be that the mix will look like fixed income, equity, and real assets, with fixed income representing about 50% of the portfolio. So we have to have equal risk in order to meet certain criteria metrics for that fund. May the 21st was Regional Sewer Committee. We had a work plan update. We talked about the asset management plan that's being worked on in conjunction with the town of Kentville. There was an operations update where it appears the ponds are in good shape. There's no odors so far. The coloration is good. They're adding chemicals now to mitigate any odors, similar to what we had last year. We now have a new aeration system is installed and completed in 3, 4, and 5, but not in 2. It's been deferred because of the amount of sludge in that. Environmental compliance, PepsiCo was offside, as is Town of Kentville at times, which prompted Director Bell to indicate some direction that testing as a whole needs to be discussed at the next technical committee meeting, so that everybody was on side with that, which is really good to hear. We had a financial update, and it appears there could be a shortfall under operating, which could potentially mean that the Town of Kentville and other partners have to adjust their respective budgets upwards. There's more to come on that. We talked about capital and operating, but it's really the operating where there seems to be a shortfall. There's a sludge project that's forecasted. Year 1 is more the science around it. Year 2 will be the design of the project, and year 3 will be the construction where they take the sludge out and repurpose it. And lastly, we discussed, or Director Bell discussed, replacing the sewer lines near the new bridge. May 4th, I had Diversity Kings, where we talked about some of the villages having secondary plans, sort of update on the Village of New Minas Planning Committee, a working group to allow for members of minority groups to be on the board. We talked about strategic goals in the community, creating governance committee, and we had a presentation around cultural competency and sensitivity. May 19th and 20th, May 19, capital budget. Some minor amendments will be proposed at a further meeting, I think May 29th, potentially directed to road and sidewalk repairs. And op budget came in excellent, and it appears that the res tax will remain the same if it's approved here tonight, and the commercial tax rate will drop ever so slightly. And that is my report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Pulsifer, please.
Thank you. I attended the last council meeting, April 27th, and last CAC meeting, May the 11th. I had 3 committee meetings that I attended, so I had a fairly detailed report typed up, but I'll go through them. April 28th, Kings Point to Point met by teleconference. Kings Point to Point is continuing to provide service, but operating with only 2 vehicles on the road due to the COVID-19. 1 vehicle provides service to Halifax for hospital appointments, and the other operates in the local area here for medical appointments, etc. The revenue, at the time that I had these stats, revenue had dropped by 15,000 for April, with ridership at only 10 to 15% of normal. Plastic separations between the driver and passenger have been installed in the 2 vehicles that are being used, and only 1 client at a time is being transported unless they're from the same household. The Kentville office, excuse me, is closed to the public, but the manager and 1 other employee is staffing the office. Grants related to COVID have been applied for by the manager, and they will help to compensate the loss of ridership at this time. Our next meeting is May 26th via teleconference. April the 29th was our Accessibility Advisory Committee meeting. This was held via Zoom. We reviewed and approved the statement of commitment, as well as definitions through the letters A and B. There was much discussion on how to direct concerns or complaints given to us as committee members. We felt it was important to make sure all people's voices are heard. And we also discussed the definition of the word ableism, which was a new word. And what it means is discrimination in favor of able-bodied people. And it would be focusing on what a person can do, not on what they can't do. So it was kind of interesting talk. And our next meeting is May 28th at 3 p.m. On April the 30th, also had a Mentoring Plus meeting, and that was held via Microsoft Team. This was my first meeting with Director Gordon Michael, with also many of the Mentoring Plus coordinators and the other counselors from New Glasgow, Truro, and Kentville. And the goal of this program is to draw upon the skills and knowledge of seniors/retirees to help support young adults 16 and older to explore and to connect to career paths that relate to the future of work. And this would be by implementing team mentoring initiatives. The coordinator here in Kentville is Mike Cameron, and he is also working in conjunction with Lindsay Young at the town hall. Mike will provide a brief update for me to include in my council report, but we kind of didn't get that done, so I'm sure he'll have one for me for the next meeting. There will be lots more information to share as this worthwhile project gains ground here in Kentville. And our next meeting is Thursday, May 29th at 10 a.m. Also attended the 2 budget deliberation meetings, May 19th and 20th, capital and operating budget. And May 6th, I attended the Kentville Water Commission, which was held via Zoom. So that's my report.
Thank you very much. All right, moving on to my report. It's pretty much a lot of the same old, Zoom meeting after Zoom meeting. And some days I feel like I'm one of the Brady Bunch and that my feet stuck on a computer. Anyway, the NSFM mayors and CAOs, we meet on a weekly basis at 6 p.m. on Wednesday evenings. And last week we had the minister, Chuck Porter, and we had an opportunity to hear from Dr. Strang. So each week they're bringing someone in to chat and talk about where we are and as well to talk about recovery. A lot of what the meetings that I have been attending are with regards to recovery and how we go from this point. So things like Engage Nova Scotia, Valley Wren, different Recreation Nova Scotia. Robert Nichols is a young fella. He's a former Kentvillian. He works for a company called Common Goods, and they are currently in discussions with 6 communities with regards to rural ride shares. And it's going to be a project that is being sponsored by our government. So right now they're interviewing people in these 6 communities or 6 counties and trying to see which one fits best. So I tried as good as I could to sell us and sell us again. Of course, we're all in budget mode, so those budget events have occurred. You'll see telecons. I have to say that in Kings County that we are getting excellent support from both our Member of Parliament and our MLA. The leader of the NDP, I have to say that I probably hear from him, well, I hear from him weekly via email, but every other week I get a phone call from him doing the How Goes It. Cody Blois as well, I hear from him weekly, and again, it's the How Goes It. So there's a lot of good news happening out there, and a lot of people concerned or looking at how we're going to fix things. Last week I sat in on, although not on this report, it occurred after the report went in, but ABCC and KBC collaborating to hold a session where Cody sat there and he basically took questions and the ones that he couldn't answer, he took away with him and he'll bring back to us. So we're really looking and really focused on recovery after COVID-19 and what happens. And I think that's a very good place to be. The other thing that I want to just make a shout out for is that Efficiency Nova Scotia and Nova Scotia Power are doing a trial in the town of Kentville, and it's called Klondike Pilot. So if you are interested in the installation and grants or half funding for some of these green initiatives to electrify your home, Google Klondike Pilot. So that's Klondike Pilot. It's a project by Efficiency Nova Scotia, and it's specific to the town of Kentville. So we are the trial for the entire province. So check it out if you're interested. And that is my report. So if I could have a motion to accept the councillor and mayor's reports as presented.
So moved.
Thank you. Thank
Second.
you. It's been moved and seconded that council and mayor's reports be accepted as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to our next item of business, and that is correspondence. And we have received a letter from Joey Murphy. And we have two requests from Joey Murphy. The first is for use of the space next to the King's Arms pub, known as the Kentville Public Garden. And the second is for use of 3 parking spaces in Center Square adjacent to Half Acre Cafe. As you all know, with COVID-19, there's going to be a requirement for social distancing and spacing of tables as restaurants and pubs and bars, and as everyone starts getting back to business. So this is where this request is coming from, is to adapt this summer to the COVID-19 social distancing. So if I could have a motion that council approve the concept of use of public space to increase commercial space in principle.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. So it has been moved and seconded that council approve the concept of use of public space to increase commercial space in principle. Discussion. Councillor Bolland.
Thank you, Worship. No, I think we need to support anybody that has to make adjustments to the post-COVID world. You know, we need to help each other and help our merchants and service providers. And certainly we can work with Mr. Murphy on this project, and we can go back and revisit the garden next year. But, you know, keeping our economy moving bit by bit is critical. So let's support this. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Are you ready for, Councillor Pulsford, please.
Thank you. I definitely support the request by Mr. Murphy. I was just wondering, the public garden space had started, I believe there was some work done in there, so will Mr. Murphy take that over and kind of get it ready for usage, or how does it's a bit of a mess now?
No, with to answer your question, Councillor Pulsifer, no, we won't proceed or move forward with any work. He will be responsible, obviously, for looking after the maintenance, the grass, those types of things, insurance and that. And also we contacted the province because of the funding that we had received, the grant, to see if there would be any negative implications to that. And they said absolutely not. They would not pull the funding back, that we would just carry it over to next year.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Are you ready for the question? The question is on adoption of the motion to approve the concept of use of public space to increase commercial space in principle.
So moved.
Deputy Mayor, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Bolland, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Pulsifer, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Andrew, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Savage, how say you?
Yes.
I say yes. The motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, we're moving on to our new business, and our first item of new business, as you heard originally, was from VCLA, the request. So we have a request from VCLA to consider entertaining the necessary changes to the LUB and MPS to facilitate the move of Adult Learning Center to 118 Oak Dean. So if we could put a motion on the table for council to approve consideration and support of the necessary changes to the LUB and MPS to facilitate the VCLA move of the Adult Learning Center to 118 Oak Dean.
So moved.
I'll move that, your worship.
I have a mover with Councillor Bolland, and I'll take you as my seconder, Councillor Savage. Thank you. It has been moved and seconded that council approve consideration and support of the necessary changes to the LUB and MPS to facilitate the VCLA move of Adult Learning Center to 118 Oak Dean. Is there any discussion? Councillor Maxwell.
I'm just wondering what that consideration would be. If that's a zoning change or if we do a development agreement or how that is handled.
I will defer that one to Director Gentleman. She's here on the line.
Thank you. It would be my recommendation in talking to Peter about this would be an MPS and an LUB, land use bylaw amendment as well, for a site-specific amendment. Because it is an odd structure on an odd lot in the middle of a single-family R2 development. We want to make sure that we have enough controls over what's going on there. And there are a lot of different bits and pieces with this development that I don't think it falls within any single land use definition. If it was strictly a school, we might want to consider adding schools to the permitted uses within the R2, but there's so much going on in here with a number of different programs and things like that. The building itself offers a lot of different opportunities, as Peter had mentioned. One of the things was the chapel, potentially having concerts or fundraising events and stuff like that in there. So I think a site-specific amendment would be prudent.
Can I ask a follow-up?
Please.
What would happen in the future if they decided to sell?
Then the DA still remains until council, what's the word, makes it null and void, just dismisses the development permit. But then you're sitting there with the building in an R2 zone again that depending on what somebody would want to do with it, would require to go through a new DA. But the language would already be there for council to consider the use of that building again through a development application.
So it's not a zoning change. The zone would basically stay the same. It would just be a special development agreement with this particular group.
Right.
And if it was changed, if it was sold, it would go back to the original zoning
zone. But then there's would be language for council to consider other uses. If you wanted to look at a rezoning for the property, then it's basically an institutional use. So anything within the definition of an institutional use would be able to go in there. That would include hospitals, daycare facilities. It could be shelters. It could be a number of different uses that you may not necessarily want to have up on that site.
Right.
So the DA, the development process allows more control over the use.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions? Are you ready for the question? The question is on adoption of the motion to approve consideration and support of the necessary changes to the LUB and MPS to facilitate the VCLA move of the Adult Learning Center to 118. Councillor Pulsifer, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Bolland, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell, how say you?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Savage, how say you?
Yes, thank you.
I say yes. The motion is carried unanimously. Councillor Andrew withdrew because of his conflict of interest with that. So thank you. All right, moving on to our next piece of business. We have a request. Yeah, he's back. A request for amendment to special events bylaw. And we have received a letter from Jess Healy to amend the special events bylaw. So she has several requests in here. Her first request is to take the weddings that have been canceled due to COVID and move them to the 2021 season. She also has a request to increase the total events per year to 20 events. And she has also requested to have only a single notification per season rather than an individual notification for each event. So there's three different things that she's asking for here in this letter. Director Gentleman, did you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I just want to clarify what her requests were because it was a little confusing when we were having these discussions. Her main request is that she would like to add 5 more weddings or special events at the property on an annual basis. So we'll be changing the bylaw from 15 a year to 20. She then said, if that doesn't work out for council, if they don't want to increase the number of events, because they've looked at it before and denied any additional increases to that property, then her request was, can I have a special exemption from the bylaw to be able to move 5 from this year that she had to cancel to include into 2021. So next summer, next season, you'd see the additional 5 for a total of 20.
Only for that 1 year.
So only for that 1 year.
Right.
And then the other change was every week she's required to go up and provide a letter to folks that they're having an event on a particular weekend. Rather than doing that on a weekly basis, she would do it at the beginning of the season and saying, these are the weeks that we're going to have wedding events. Some folks are getting tired if you're knocking on their door every week telling her about a wedding. So that's a minor amendment, but I think the other one, yeah, will be.
Okay. So I read this and I read the things that Jess has said about the facility, and I've kind of tried to put some words down so that we can have a look at this and get it on the floor for discussion. So because of COVID-19, no one has any control over that. And the fact that she's had to cancel 5, it's not fair that anybody doesn't get to do their job or to earn a living because of COVID. So what I've written is that council approve an amendment to the special events bylaw to carry over 5 2020 COVID-19 canceled events to 2021. And that further, that council refer the request to amend the bylaw for 20 events per year and 1 notification per season to staff for a report detailing the effect on the neighborhood and any remaining concerns. Because as you'll recall, the first time this came to council, there were a lot of concerns from the neighborhood. And according to this letter, they've all been addressed. And I don't know if there's still concerns. I don't know if there's been police action up there. So before making another decision, I guess I'd like more information. So I propose that motion if we could get it on the floor for discussion. Thank you, Councillor Bolland. And a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Pulsifer. It has been moved and seconded that council approve an amendment to the special events bylaw to carry over 2020 COVID-19 canceled events to 2021. And further, that council refer the request to amend the bylaw for 20 events per year and 1 notification per season to staff for a report detailing the effect on the neighborhood and any remaining concerns. Discussion. Councillor Pulsifer. Oh, sorry. No, Counselor Savage, I saw your
I'm
rim.
going to.
Counselor Savage.
Thank you, Worship. So if I understand your motion correctly, you're basically saying that she could do the 20 events next year, carry over the 5 that were canceled from this season, and that make a proposal to go to the 20 events per year and just do, just outline at the beginning of the season, you know, how many weddings they're going to have and on what dates. The part I'm a little sketchy on is, what do you mean by a detailed report? What does that mean?
So if you, when you look at her letter, she talks about the noise levels and monitoring
Yep.
and the traffic and everything. Well, these were things, you know, realistic concerns of the people in that neighborhood. And basically they had no peace for 15 weekends in the summer. And so what I want to know is, have these things that have been put in place, you know, are they making it better for the people who live in a residential neighborhood, or is it still party hardy for each one of the event nights? And so the motion is worded such that she gets to carry over the 5 that have been canceled, but to go to the 20 per year would have to come back to council with a report. You know, how many times have the police been called? Again, you'll recall the number of concerned citizens that we had in here when she was looking for 30. Are those same citizens still concerned, and would they still have that level of concern for an extra 5 every year? So that's, I guess I was trying to find a middle ground. So that's what I meant by a detailed report. How many times have the police went up there? You know,
Yeah, and I think what I was reading when I read through her letter, when she talked about, you know, how many decibels they permit, and if they go beyond that, and that people are using transit to go up now, et cetera, and that, but if we're looking for more detail than she's put in the letter, then, and we could just outline what sort of detail we want. I understand. Thank you.
I guess what I was thinking was, she's provided her spin on it, or her opinion. So now I would like to know what the neighborhood thinks of everything that she's put in place.
No, I understand. Thank you.
Councillor Bolland.
Oh, thank you, Worship. No, you nailed it right on the head. You know, everybody's accountable, and certainly I would like to see a report done, as you said, to see what the impacts have been on the residents in that community, if any, and that's an excellent idea. So I support that 101%.
Jennifer, I see you with your hand up.
Yes, I have Solicitor Jeff Matart on my phone.
Okay.
Has a question about this.
Okay.
We're just going to make sure, Jeff, can you speak, and I'll get my volume working so that everyone can hear each other?
Okay, can you hear me, folks?
Yep.
Good. So I just wanted to remind you that this is an amendment to a bylaw. So you'll have to advertise the amendment and have second reading before it's effective. And staff should actually bring the amendment to you before you approve it as second reading.
Yes.
Yes.
That would be for the 5.
Would that be for the, would that be for the special 5 that we're transferring over to next year? Let's assume that we don't want to add any more on a regular basis. What kind of amendment process do we need to go through to allow special COVID-19 additional 5 weddings on that property for 2021? That's still an amendment to the bylaw, Jeff?
Yes.
So we could be going through a number of amendments to that bylaw. So yes, it's okay to have.
CAO Rice, sorry, CAO Rice and I had a short discussion about this, and I think we concluded that you could do an amendment that was only effective for next year if you so chose, and then it would essentially revert back. It was that amendment would still exist in the bylaw, but it would be clear that it was only a carryover for 1 year, or you could make the amendment and see how things go, and the council council that's in place at the time could reevaluate it.
So is that clear to everybody? Does anyone have any questions of council? Nothing? Okay, I'll continue with the list of hands up here. Councillor Pulsifer.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, my question was partially answered. I mean, with the notice to residents, because they are not aware of the request that's come forward. So I'm sure, that the process of the public, not public inquiry, but the public hearing and so on would be date and so on would be made available to the residents so they could express their opinions as how things have gone and the request that's pending. So that's just what I wanted to make sure was addressed. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll direct this if I can to Director Gentleman. And it's a question about the proposed development just down the road. I think I know the answer, that it's far enough away that there would be no adverse effects if in the future we up the number of events, but I just would like your take on whether it's going to be close or.
Yeah, I think it's far enough away that the events, as they're currently being run, and the number of people that are allowed, the maximum number of people, the decibel readings that they can go above, the fact that all the music has to be inside buildings won't have any impact on the subject property we talked about earlier today.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so let me clarify this, Jeff. Maybe I've got too much in one motion here. If we vote to approve the motion that is currently on the table, that council approve an amendment to the special events bylaw to carry over 5 2020 COVID-19 canceled events to 2021, and further that council refer the request to amend the bylaw for 20 events per year and 1 notification per season to staff for a report detailing the effects on the neighborhood and any remaining concerns. Does this mean that Director Gentleman brings back the amendment to the bylaw and then we would do first reading?
It need not. I need to be clear though, this bylaw applies to more than just this one venue. As I understand it, you only have one venue in the town. So you're not going to be able to be as specific as carry forward 5 COVID canceled events from 2020 to 2021. You'll simply increase the number of permitted events in 2021.
Will we be permitted to use the term COVID-19 in the amendment for the carryover?
You can use that in what I would suggest would be the explanatory introduction. So whereas COVID, blah, 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 and as a result, council has chosen to amend the maximum number of events. And so it could be explanatory that way. The consolidated version of the bylaw would simply show the increased number. And as I said before, if you want to limit it to that 1 year of 2021, so that for 2021 there's 5 more permitted events and then it reverts back to the prior number, then that could be done as well. So to answer your initial question, it may be clearer for everybody if Director Gentleman brings back the revisions for first reading at the next meeting. But if you're clear on the amendment that you're making here today, then it could come back for second reading with the amendment clearly written down.
So I'm amending the motion, although I don't have a motion to amend the motion yet. But it has been moved and seconded, or that council approve an amendment to the special events bylaw to hold 5 additional events in 2021. Now, how do I put a drop dead date of 31 December on that? Because we don't want it to extend past 31 December. Like we don't want it going into 2022.
Yeah, so I would suggest that the amendment is that the bylaw be amended to permit, and I have to look to the director gentleman for the total number,
It would be 20,
20.
20,
yes.
be amended to allow 20 events in the year 2021, and that's simply going to be the amendment.
Okay,
Otherwise, it's 15 events.
okay. So we need to have a vote on the amendment. So the amendment would read that council approve an amendment to the special events bylaw to permit 20 events in the year 2021, and further that council refer the request to amend the bylaw for 20 events per year and 1 notification per season to staff for a report detailing the effects on the neighborhood and remaining concerns. If I could have someone move that amendment, please. Thank you, Councillor Bolland, and a seconder.
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Andrew. It has been moved and seconded that council approve an amendment to the special events bylaw to permit 20 events in the year 2021, and further that council refer the request to amend the bylaw for 20 events per year and 1 notification per season to staff for a report detailing the effect on the neighborhood and any remaining concerns. Any further discussion? Councillor Andrew.
Yeah, just so we are responsible for this report.
No, that's coming from staff.
Okay, it's coming from staff. So staff is going to work with protection services, obviously make record of any citizen complaints. And is there any onus or responsibility put on the events coordinator?
I've probably not said this correctly. In the letter that we received from Jess Healy, she expresses that all the concerns of the people in that neighborhood have all been addressed, and everything is wonderful. My question, sitting here as a member of council, is have they all been addressed, and is the neighborhood happy or not adversely affected by these events? So that's what I want staff to come back and tell us, that, you know, there haven't been 6 police cruisers up there on, you know, per event sort of thing. I want to know what's been going on and how the neighborhood feels about increasing this, because as soon as it goes to a bylaw change, then people who live up there are going to have the opportunity to speak to us on this.
Right. If I may, so the second part of that, this even this amendment is going to evoke the possibility of public discussion and engagement.
That's correct.
Right. Okay. All right.
Yes.
I'm clear. Thank you.
Yeah. But the first part, I guess, is that the carryover is due to the COVID, and it ends on 2021.
Love it. Okay, that's good. Thank you.
CAO.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want clarity. So at this point, council is in agreement to allow for 5 additional functions for the 2021 year. So that will require an amendment to the bylaw, but then you also are considering, based on a staff report, that you would up those events to 20. If not all of council is in agreement to add an additional 5 for 2021, then we could do it all at once if you decided that you were going to add 20 in the future ongoing.
Right.
So the way it's appearing now, maybe I'm mixed up, but we're still going to end up doing 2 amendments to the bylaw.
guess what my point is here is that because there's two requests in this, one is because of the COVID, and we've already clearly stated as a council that we don't think that any business should be hampered by that. And what we've done for downtown Kentville with Joey, with the side yard and the parking spots, we've made that very clear. And so the first part of this motion permits the property owner to take the canceled events and move them to next year. So the public may come and say, it's not anything that we don't want any part of this. We don't want an extra 5. But as a council, are we committed to allowing business to not be hurt by COVID?
Mhm.
And so, yes, there is potential that we're going to be doing 2 amendments and we're going to go through this twice. But I don't know if there's another way of doing it.
So the additional 5, so you want staff to proceed, if your motion is passed, you want staff to move ahead with the amendment to the bylaw for the 5 additional for 2021. And then you also want staff to prepare a report to look at the potential of having it additional of 5 ongoing in the future.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Jennifer, I see your hand up.
Yes. Go ahead, Jeff.
Thank you. I think you may have just confirmed it, Mayor Snow, but are you looking for the staff report prior to second reading of the amendment for 2021?
Yes.
Oh,
And just for the record, because Jess may be watching, council can make this change. There's an election in October. The new council may change it back. This is not a contractual relationship between council and property owners. This is simply an amendment to the bylaw to change the number of events. That number of events could be reduced. So if in the fall of 2020, for example, there were problems at the venue and it was decided that 20 events are too many for next year or 15 events are too many, then the council at the time can change this bylaw, and that should just be clear to everybody involved.
Okay, thank you. Is there any further discussion? Are we confused enough before I go forward? Are you ready for the question? The question is on adoption of the motion to approve to approve an amendment to special events bylaw to permit 20 events in the year 2021. And further, that council refer the request to amend the bylaw for 20 events per year and 1 notification per season to staff for a report detailing the effect on the neighborhood and any remaining concerns.
so moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All right. It's been moved and seconded that council adopt the motion to approve an amendment to the special events bylaw to carry over, to permit 20 events in the year 2021. And further, that council refer the request to amend the bylaw for 20 events per year and 1 notification per season to staff for a report detailing the effect on the neighborhood and any remaining concerns. Deputy Mayor, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Bolland, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Pulsifer, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Savage, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Andrew, how say you? Yes? And I say yes. Motion is carried. Thank you.
Yes.
All right, Deputy. Thank you. Deputy Mayor, your turn. Police Commission budget report, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Kemper Police Commission 2020-2021 budget report. Kemper Police Commission met on May the 8th, 2020. There was a full agenda including both the operational and capital budgets. The Kemper Police Commission operational budget was passed unanimously. Revenue is $575,000, operating budget $2.3 million. Additionally, the Police Commission is recommending the following changes to service. Addition of one GIS, General Investigative Services Officer to provide, as it says, investigative services for larger files, which will free up officer time. And reduction of one crossing guard at the KCA school on Gary Pearl Drive at a savings of $12,500. Kemper Police Commission capital budget was passed unanimously. The Police Commission provides the following recommendations to council for approval. Number one, approval of the addition of one GIS officer services to the KPS. Number two, approval of the reduction of one crossing guard at KCA. Number three, approval of the KPS capital budget. And number four, approval of the KPS operational budget. I respectfully submit.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. We'll go through and do each one as its own separate motion. So the first motion is that council approve the addition of one General Investigative Services GIS officer to Kentville Police Services. Who moves?
So moved.
moved.
Thank you, Councillor Savage. And second?
Second.
Councillor Andrew, thank you. It has been moved and seconded that council approve the addition of one General Investigative Services GIS officer to the Kentville Police Services. Is there any discussion? Councillor Andrew.
I just, this is a broad, maybe a little too broad for this, but you can stop me if you need to. I know in the past we had discussion about our protective services is a big part of our budget, and it was, it's good to hear that there is some discussion about how we make savings. We've had some people move on and retire, and we've had some new folks, and we've had some promotions, but there was talk about having more of an integration of cadets. And there's a number of different ways that's been looked at or discussed. I'm just wondering if that takes us too far off course to ask Councillor Gerard or Deputy Mayor Gerard to just give a little more information about about where we are. Was that appropriate, or is this the wrong time for that?
Deputy Mayor?
Yep, nope, absolutely. So the way that this works is, yes, you're absolutely right, Councillor Andrew. We have in the past had discussions of, I think they call it two-tier police service, where we actually have the officers with the guns, but we also have cadets at a much reduced price. The way things have been going for the KPS, we have several new officers because we've had some retirements, which in the short term is at quite a savings to the town, because it takes 5 years to get a full salaried officer in the Kentville Police Service. So under this, I assume, and in discussions that I've had with Julia, and I will defer this for confirmation to a CAC meeting as opposed to where she's in attendance, but we have the capacity in our staff and the training that there's probably a GIS officer without the title right now, who's sitting in the building. And if they get replaced, it will, as we have the last 4 or 5, it'll be he or she will be replaced with a new officer, which will come at cost savings to the town. So as far as other discussions outside of that, the Kentville Police Service and a tiered, we've had when you were on the commission, we had discussions like that. They have not progressed past that point over the last year.
All right. Are you ready for the question? The question is on adoption of the motion to approve the addition of one General Investigative Services GIS officer to Kentville Police Services. Deputy Mayor, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Pulsifer, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Savage, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Andrew, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Bolland, how say you?
Yes.
I say yes, the motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to your second motion, a motion that council approve the reduction of one crossing guard at the KCA school. And who moves that? Do I have a mover? The motion has failed. Councillor Maxwell?
I just like to make a comment with regard to this one. During our budget deliberation meeting, I felt very much under attack for having to justify this to council, which is not my position to do. And I want to make it very clear that this recommendation was not my recommendation. This was a recommendation from the commission.
Yes.
And that is a very big difference. Yet at that meeting, I was under attack to justify this recommendation. And that was very upsetting to me, and more so because I thought about my other colleagues who voted to send this to council. And as far as they're concerned, I'm sure that after they listen to that discussion, they're probably feeling like, why would I ever want to sit on a Town of Kentville committee when my decisions or my ideas that are made from the bottom of my heart as a cost-saving measure? Why would I want to sit on a committee and be ridiculed the way that was ridiculed during budget deliberations? And I just want to say that I'm very disappointed in the way that was handled. And I felt very much that it was a personal attack on me, which should not have happened. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder for this motion? Or a mover for this motion? The motion fails. All right, moving on. We have the police commission is requesting that we approve the KPS capital budget. If I could have that, someone to move that.
I'll move
So
that.
moved.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And the seconder, Councillor Bolland.
Yes.
It has been moved and seconded that council approve the KPS capital budget. Is there any discussion? Councillor Maxwell, is your hand still up?
Oh, no, sorry, it's not.
Okay, no, all good. Councillor Andrew.
I think just to Councillor Maxwell's point too, it's unfortunate when those kind of things happen. But just to, I guess that would be my word as a councillor to the commission is, in the future, maybe there's some more discussion needed around some significant remodeling that could result in savings much more than the failed motion to reduce our crossing guard would have. I still think there's significant work to happen there, and I hope that will. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Andrew. We are talking about the KPS capital budget here for approval. Is there any discussion on the capital budget? If there is none, are you ready for the question? The question is on adoption of the motion to approve the KPS capital budget. Deputy Mayor, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Andrew, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Bolland, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Pulsifer, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Savage, how say you?
Yes.
I say yes, the motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. And we move on to the KPS operational budget and the motion that council approve the KPS operational budget. Who moves that? Deputy Mayor, thank you. And my seconder, Councillor Pulsifer, thank you. It has been moved and seconded that council approve the KPS operational budget. Is there any discussion? Councillor Savage.
Thank you, Worship.
So in the operational budget, had it taken that 12.5 out, or that's correct, it had not, right?
No.
So that deletion wasn't affected or wasn't represented. Okay, that's fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good. Is there any further discussion on the KPS operational budget? All right, the question is on adoption of the motion to approve the KPS operational budget. Councillor Maxwell, how say you?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Bolland, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Andrew, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Savage, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Pulsifer, how say you?
Yes.
I say yes, the motion is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. All right, moving on to our next piece of business is the Town of Kentville Water Commission Budget Report. The Town of Kentville Water Commission met on May the 6th, and there was a full agenda, including both operational and capital budgets. The Kentville Water Commission operational budget was passed unanimously with a revenue of $2,007,300, expenditures of $1,527,600, and a budgeted surplus of $7,500. The Kentville Water Commission capital budget was passed unanimously, and the Kentville Water Commission capital budget is $342,400, and this is submitted to council for information purposes, and this information is sent to the UARB to become part of our Water Commission file. So if I could have a motion to accept the Town of Kentville Water Commission 2021 budget report as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, Councillor Pulsifer.
Second.
And thank you, Deputy Mayor. It has been moved and seconded that council accept the Town of Kentville Water Commission 2021 budget report as presented. Is there any discussion?
Question?
The question is on adoption of the motion to accept the Town of Kentville Water Commission 2020-2021 budget report as presented. Deputy Mayor, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Pulsifer, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Bolland, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Savage, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Andrew, how say you?
Yes.
I say yes, the motion is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. All right, now we're moving on to the big one. Our 2020-2021 Town of Kentville operating budget. And you have the document of the proposed operating budget highlights. Councillor Bolland, I see your hand up. Was there something that you wanted to?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Councillor Savage made a point earlier, and that's why I had my hand up earlier, regarding regional sewer. And she made a comment that there may be some shortfalls there, which would thus have an impact on our operating budget. Is there any comment maybe from the CAO on that, or this information probably is not new to you?
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. No, that wouldn't affect the town's operating budget. The sewer has its own budget, which is coming up, both the operating and capital. It doesn't, it affects that budget, not the town's operating budget.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
All right, so we have a motion to approve the draft 2020-2021 operational budget in the amount of $13,480,600, and further that council approve the proposed tax rate for 1 April 2020 to 31 March 2021 of residential $1.53 3/4 and a commercial rate of $3.51 2/5. If I could have someone move that, please.
So moved.
Thank you. Councillor Andrew and Councillor Savage, I've got you as my seconder.
Thank you.
It has been moved and seconded that council approve the draft 2020-2021 operating budget in the amount of $13,480,600, and further that council approve the proposed tax rate for 1 April 2020 to 31 March 2021 of residential rate $1.5375 and a commercial rate of $3.5125. Is there any discussion? Councillor Maxwell, I see your hand up.
Thank you. I'll lower it right now. I was just wondering, during budget deliberations, we talked about having a legal page done up to add to this operating budget. And I don't see it here. And I was just wondering if that is going to happen so that when the public looks at our budget, it's fully transparent in that regard. I'll address that to CAO maybe.
Thank you, Mr. Maxwell. That type of a report isn't included in the budget document itself, but we are preparing a report for council on the legal services.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anything further? I want to remind the public that this budget is a balanced budget, that our residential rate has not gone up from last year, and that our commercial rate is actually down 1 cent from last year for our commercial properties. So are you ready for the question? The question is on adoption of the motion. Oh, Councillor Bolland.
Thank you, Worship. There's a meeting scheduled with Director Bell in a couple of days regarding capital projects. Does that have any reflection on tonight's motion, or is that projects
No,
within?
that's our
the budget?
capital budget that
Yeah.
we will be talking about on May 29th.
Yeah, okay,
And that
so
will
we
come
get some
before-
clarity on that. Okay, thank you.
All right, so are you ready for the question? The question is on adoption of the motion to approve the draft 2020-2021 operating budget in the amount of $13,480,600. And further, that council approve the proposed tax rate for 1 April 2020 to 31 March 2021 of residential $1.5375 and a commercial of $3.5125. Councillor Bolland, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Savage, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Andrew, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Pulsfer, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell, how say you?
Yes,
Deputy Mayor, how say you?
Yes.
I say yes, the motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to our next piece of business. We're looking at the 2020-2021 sanitary sewer operating budget, and you have the details in your package. So the motion to council is that council approve the Kentville sanitary sewer area service operating budget for 2020-2021 as follows. A revenue of $1,285,100 with expenditures of $1,283,400, leaving a surplus of $3,700. If I could have a motion, please.
So moved.
Thank you. And a seconder?
second.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded that council approve the Kentville sanitary sewer area service operating budget for 2020-2021 as follows. A revenue of $1,285,100 with expenditures of $1,283,400, leaving a surplus of $3,700. Is there any discussion, Councillor Savage?
Thank you, Worship. Just a note around the expenditure side at the 1.2 million, just in regards to Councillor Bolland's ask about if that potentially could change. I don't think that we know enough about that yet. That just came up at our last meeting last week. There's still some work to be done on that. But if there are requirements further on the expenditure side from the partners, I think it'll be fairly nominal. So that's why I would feel comfortable passing this. Thank you, Worship.
Okay, thank you. Are you ready for the CAO?
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to state that should there be any increases, as Councillor Savage has stated, that we do have a operating reserve with the sanitary sewer, and any additional funds would come from there.
Thank you. So you're ready for the question. The question is on adoption of the motion to approve the Kentville Sanitary Sewer Area Service Operating Budget 2020-2021 as follows. Revenue of $1,285,100 with expenditures of $1,283,400, leaving a surplus of $3,700. Councillor Savage, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Andrew, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Pulsifer, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Bolland, how say you?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor, how say you?
Yes.
I say yes. Motion is carried unanimously. With regards to the 2020-2021 sanitary sewer capital budget, there's a motion that council approve the Kentville Sanitary Sewer Area Service 2020-2021 capital budget in the amount of $235,300, including its funding sources. If I could have a motion.
So moved.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded that council approve the Kentville Sanitary Sewer Area Service 2020-2021 capital budget in the amount of $235,300, including its funding sources. Is there any discussion? There being no discussion, the question is on adoption of the motion to approve the Kentville Sanitary Sewer Area Service 2020-2021 capital budget in the amount of $235,300, including its funding sources. Deputy Mayor, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Bolland, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Pulsifer, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Andrew, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Savage, how say you?
Yes.
I say yes, the motion is carried unanimously. And our next piece of business is a request for decision, and I submitted it after, as I said to you, I've been attending a lot of meetings with regards to the recovery phase of this COVID. As well, there's been numerous pieces of information coming in, whether they come from FCM, NSFM, Active Transportation Network. Anyway, there's just a whole slew of things coming in. And the request was that staff investigate rebalancing the downtown Kentville streets to make more space for physical distancing this summer from June to October of 2020. So COVID-19 has created a new normal where physical distancing for the foreseeable future is our reality. Many towns and cities are temporarily reducing parking and creating space for bikes, pedestrians, and kids on scooters. Additionally, streets are being closed to traffic on weekends to create space for restaurants and retail operators. Most Canadian cities are eliminating the cost of municipal patio permits and allowing restaurants to expand the patio in order to permit social distancing while maintaining number of seats. So my desired income was to increase the open area in Center Square for the farm market, encourage other nonprofits to use the gazebo during the summer, potentially close Aberdeen Street to traffic on Sundays, temporarily increase sidewalk space in the downtown square. So that would be from Main Street around Cornwallis, down Webster and over onto Aberdeen, and eliminate the patio licensing fee for the summer of 2020. The CAO looked into the permit fees and they are minimal, so they will have no negative impact on our budget. So I would propose a motion that council approve the concept of creating more space in principle and refer to staff for a report on implementation for June and October of 2020. If I could have a motion so we can get that on the table. Councillor Bolland, thank you.
I'll second that.
Councillor Savage, thank you. It has been moved and seconded that council approve the concept of creating more space in principle and refer to staff for a report on implementation for June and October. Discussion. Councillor Bolland, first to the board.
Thank you very much. I like this. It's aggressive. It's adapting to the new normal, unfortunately, but Wolfville is doing that now or very, very shortly. Halifax is looking at taking Argyle Street and make it pedestrian friendly. And certainly waiving the fees for Patty's Pub, etc., is a good move. So it's great. Let's get it done. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Savage, your hand is up.
Thank you, Worship. I think it's a great initiative. I think it will be well received by the residents of the town. I think it makes a lot of sense. And, even if we weren't in a COVID crisis, I really, really support and like the idea of it. So thank you for bringing it forward.
Thank you. Councillor Pulsifer.
Thank you. Yes, I also love the idea. It's a great initiative. It'll work really well for us this summer and maybe in the future. So thanks for bringing that forward, Mayor Snow.
All right, thank you. Councillor Maxwell.
I echo everyone's comments. I think it's a really great thing, even if it took COVID-19 to bring it on. Our sidewalks are too narrow, as I've been saying all along, for physical distancing. And our downtown core is not user-friendly for bikes and scooters and things like that, especially during physical distancing. And I think if it takes COVID-19 to get her done, then that's good.
All right, Councillor Bolland, your hand is up again.
Yes, thank you again. Just a comment on Aberdeen Street. That's been Director Gentleman and planning about 5, 6, 7 years ago did a study on closing Aberdeen Street permanently. And that may be worthwhile to revisit that. So that would be in her file somewhere by member of public presentation. It was very well embraced. And again, the bottom line is the more that we can make our downtown attractive and welcoming, maybe we look at that angle because with some business that are struggling and will be struggling, it's going to be feast or famine, and to make Kentville as attractive as possible so they don't go to Wolf or New Mines, but maybe we look at Aberdeen Street. So she has that report somewhere, and it may be worthwhile visiting.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor Maxwell, are you?
Yeah, I just had a thought on Aberdeen Street. When staff is looking this over, just maybe have a discussion with Tanya at Gerlitzer. That is a used furniture store now. It might be a little hard for people to carry furniture if the street is closed, carry it away. So that's just something maybe to work out with that particular shop on that street.
Thank you for that. I don't know if you all saw the photo today on Facebook. It was on early this morning. It was this great big lawn where there were circles and people were actually kind of sitting in their circles so that they could social distance. So, I mean, if you can just imagine Aberdeen Street with circles on the pavement on a Sunday, and, it just kind of be, I don't know, a carnival-like atmosphere with some music or something, and take out food, and maybe somebody's got a chip wagon there and a popcorn machine and great guns. Anyway, we can all dream, right? Councillor Savage.
An Elvis jumpsuit. There's that laugh.
Oh my soul. Sorry, sorry. Thank you, Your Worship. So just to echo what Councillor Maxwell said. So when I think about what street is it in Halifax? Argyle Street. I know sometimes they will allow a truck on it or something. So maybe that's something, because I wasn't thinking about Gerlitzer, but now that Councillor Maxwell says that, and I know that she is open 12 to 4 on Sundays, and there may be the odd delivery that needs to be done. You never know. So that's just something to keep in mind.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Councillor Maxwell, for bringing that up.
All right. Is there any further discussion? If there's no further discussion, the question is on adoption of the motion to approve the concept of creating more space in principle and refer to staff for a report on implementation for June to October of 2020. Deputy Mayor, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Savage, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Andrew, how say you?
No need. Wake up.
Counselor Pulsifer, how say you?
Yes.
Counselor Max, okay. Counselor Andrew, how say you?
I'm a yes, and if I can just apologize quickly, my wife is doing her best to keep the kids away, but occasionally they burst in the room. They're preschoolers, so yeah, that's what I'm balancing here. Thank you.
Bet you want some social distancing. Counselor Bolland,
Yes, certainly, yes.
Counselor Maxwell,
Yes.
and I say yes. The motion is carried unanimously. Is there any further business? Okay, we have a public comment to the CAO.
I'd just like to share a public comment that just came in to councillors and mayor, town of Campville. It's from Joey Murphy. I wish to express my gratitude to you all for showing your unanimous support and allowing me to make the necessary changes to my business operations. This decision will certainly make it easier to operate for the upcoming summer. This demonstrates once again what a great place Kentville is to do business. Kindest regards, Joey Murphy.
Nice.
Thank you very much, CAO. And on that note,
I will motion to adjourn.
thank you.
Second.
All those in favor?
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Great meeting. Thanks, everybody.